Hi, I'm Kath from MoKaPottery, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing and setup of a Peter Pugger VPM7 de-airing mixing pug mill. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take a look at what came in the box other than the pug mill itself. This is the bag that the instructions came in. The instructions. I have had a quick read through. I actually ordered some extra pieces, so I got 3 extruder dies. One is the coil set, one is the handle set, and I think in this box we have the hollow tube set. It does say hollow tube form die, so I'll just open that and then we've got all the extruder parts and then we can move them out of the way. Okay, so bits and pieces, we've got all the various bits and bobs. There's a few bits in there. I'm not going to put them all out because there's quite a few. I'll just put those tools back in. So that's extruder pieces, that's hollow dies, handles and coils. Also in this bag is a bag with the feet for the pug mill. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them on yet because we're going to be sitting on a wire stainless steel shelf and I might want to keep it on the mini pallet. There's also a trowel for cleaning down the clay areas. You don't ever want to use a metal scraper because it could damage the rubber gaskets that create the vacuum seal. And then this is the cover for the vacuum chamber that you take off in order to clean out the bits of clay that have moved back, and one empty bag. So next we've got this, looks suspiciously like a handle, so I'm just going to very carefully open this. And try not to damage anything while I'm at it. Oh, that's the locking mechanism for the handle. Right, so this is actually the first piece we're going to attach according to the instructions, so we'll get everything opened and we'll have a look. Okay, quality assurance tag, that's nice to know. Caution, align plug properly. Yep, that's a bit of instruction for installation. And, oh, I know what this is. This attaches into the body of the machine so that the machine can recognise when you've put the handle down and locked it, so that I think it connects to the vacuum pump, so that the vacuum will only come on when it's closed. I could be wrong. So I'll just move that out of there. Cable, handle. Right, that's that. I'll take this off and I will read it before I operate. Okay. Some kind of IQ test to take that off. Right, these can sit over there. We'll move that out of the way. So that's the handle for the halter. The other extra piece that we ordered was a cut off wire and tray. So when the pugs come out, they're going to go straight onto this metal tray that's attached to the machine. And with one motion I can lift down the handle and cut a log. having worked for a clay manufacturer in the past, I can tell you it's no fun searching for a cut-off wire when you've got 2 feet of pugged clay running off the table. So this is the box. This is the tray. This attaches under the outlet from the machine. It's various tools, and this sits attached to the machine, and you slice as you need. I'm really looking forward to it, and it comes with spare wire. And the last piece is the vacuum pump, because it says vacuum pump, back pump and filter on the packet. Okay, that's this one vacuum pump, which plugs into the machine, so you don't need a separate socket for that. That's good. This is a bit that attaches to the gauge, and this is just going to sit on the shelf below the plug now. So just lift that out there. So, what we have in the main part of the machine is, if you haven't ordered any of the extras, what you'll get is this. So, the handle, the vacuum chamber cover, feet, and the vacuum pump. Everything else that I've opened today is an optional extra. We opted for the VPM7, which is a slightly smaller machine, and the difference in cost we spent on these extra bits that would give us more functionality. I think that was the right call, although when I'm limited to 14 pounds of clay at a time, I might change my mind. Okay, so this is what's left of the package. The pug mill is in the box on a mini pallet. It actually came on a larger pallet, but now there's a mini pallet inside the box. And the shelves that we are installing it onto are these stainless steel wire shelves. So I'm not sure how the feet are going to sit or how stable it's going to be. At the moment I've just got a plaster board up there. We're going to lift the pallet out off camera so you don't hear expletives, and then we'll see how it's sitting. I might decide to keep it on the mini pallet, I'm not sure. If I don't, then we have to unfasten the pallet and attach the feet. This is it out of the box. It's still on the mini pallet, as you can see. We've just had a look and we actually think we might keep it on the pallet for now. We may change our minds later on, but for now I think it's going to be okay on the pallet. Okay, so this came with, this was wrapped, this is the actual mixing chamber and the door for the chamber, onto which we'll fasten the handle. Just going to leave that there. A nice sturdy cable, which I will cut the cable tie, and we've got a socket attached to this shelf underneath. And then this is nicely protected here. And then this piece here, I believe, is the gauge for the vacuum pump. Nicely protected. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. And another, this gauge is oil filled. The bubble at the top is normal. To equalise, gently lift the plug at the top of the gauge. Okay, so I'll do that before I start using it. for the vacuum chamber. This is where, when it's mixing, sometimes if there's too much, it'll kick some into the vacuum chamber. You just clean that out. The vacuum will hold this on. It's not actually clipped or anything. It's got a rubber gasket. You sit it on there, and when the vacuum is running, it holds that in place. Okay, so this is everything in position. It's not attached yet, but it is in place. We have opted to keep it on the pallet for now. If that doesn't work once it's in operation, we will stop, take it all apart, put the feet on and find another way to stand it on the wire shelves. But for now, this is what we're going with. So on the top, we've got the Peter Pugger, and underneath, somewhere here, is the vacuum pump with the cable sitting there. And up top here, we have the handle with the cable that attaches. So I've got the really sturdy cable that's plugged in. This is a 13 amp in our 240 volt supply, so there'll be nothing else in that socket, although it's got 4 spots. There'll be nothing else drawing current from that when that is on, because that is already drawing 13 amp. Up here we have, at the back, we have the socket for the handle attachment sensor and the supply switch for the, it's a half amp supply switch for the vacuum pump to switch that on and off, and the main on off with a safety cover. And this is the socket for the vacuum pump to attach to. The other end of that is here, and that will just slot in. So the next stage will be attaching the handle. And the one other piece that I haven't showed you is this piece here, which is coming up from the back of the vacuum pump, and this end here will attach onto this. So that's where we are now. I'm going to hand over control of the very shaky camera so that I can configure everything and join it all together. Okay, so now we're going to attach the handle. I need to take the bolts off from the handle itself, thread them through this attachment here, and then tighten them back up. Let's just check I'm not just spinning that. I was just spinning it. This hex key actually came in the pack with the feet. So although we're not using the feet, we are going to be using the tool. Okay, I'm not going to take that all the way out because there's washers there that I don't want to lose. Might be able to do this without the hex key actually. Right, washer and nut, and that's ready to come through. So I will just pull these back, slot them in, and then put them back on. So that cable's going over the back to attach. This piece is going to line up. Stabbing wildly in the dark. It's there somewhere. Don't want to force anything, it will go through when it's found the slot. That's it. Right, so that's that one, and then this one should be slightly easier, I would think. You would think. Not actually lined up, so you can move the actual lid of the hopper to get that lined up. Turn it down, push the bolt through. Again, just work it gently because it will go. It doesn't need forced. And then we're going to pause, switch cameras so you can see the other side. Okay, so put the washer back on and the nut, which doesn't appear to have a right or a wrong way. So I'm just going to finger tighten everything just now. So I'm holding the hex nut at the other end, the bolt sorry. And I'm just gonna put the washer and the nut. And just finger tighten. Now I should be able to lift that up, and that's how that's going to operate. That will be loose in order to fit in to the chamber. Okay, so this is my 14mm socket. I think I could probably have used a 13mm, but it's not in my toolkit, of course, because that's the one I need. So I'm just going to slot that on the side. Oh. Change the direction so that that doesn't move. Nope, that's not going to work. Let's do it this way. So I'm just going to hold. No, that might actually be as tight as it's going to be. It is actually quite a loose connection, which would make sense because this has got to move. So there's actually not that much tightening to do. Unless I've got this terribly wrong. So, yep, that's as tight as it's going to go. So that all that was for not much. Give me my socket back, thank you. So, like I said, that was a 14mm socket. I might have been able to use 13mm if I had one here. But that's now, that is loose. That's loose because obviously it's got to hinge, so that makes sense to not be completely tight. And I'll just move on to the next piece while we're here, which is, I'll leave that on for now. I'm going to attach the vacuum pump attachment, and I've already checked this, and hopefully this will just turn and attach without having to, yep, that's it. So this just turns onto the thread, which has already got some PTFE tape, some plumber's tape on it for a good seal. And again, I'm just gonna hand tighten that. I don't think it needs to be too, I'll get it up the right way though. I don't think it needs to be too tight because it's got the seal from the plumber's tape. I'm gonna go with that and see how we go when we switch on the vacuum pump. This end of the pump is actually the valve for releasing the vacuum. So when it's up to pressure, which is about, I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to say PSI. I'm not sure if it is pounds per square inch, but I think it goes up to about 20-25 when it's under pressure and the vacuum is running. And this is the chamber closed off. And once we're finished, we will turn that to open up the flow to let the pressure out, because we never want to leave it under pressure when you're not operating. So the next point will be this cable coming from the handle. Again, this is a sensor. Let's see if I can take this off. Align plug properly. The splines in the plug must align with the grooves in the receptacle. Right. That makes sense. Good old box cutter. Right. Put that there. And we're going over this way. So downside here. In the plug itself, there are three. I need to put my head down in front of the camera for a second. There are three prongs, there are three holes, and they align. Oh, that's like it. Oh, right, there's actually a notch here, which aligns with a notch here. So I think it's, oh, it might be that. Or it might be that. Nope, it looks like it's that. Right, so it is actually in place and won't turn, so that's the notch is in the right place. And now we can just screw that in. It's a pretty universal attachment that I've used this before on a heat press, so I know how that works. Right, so that's the handle attached to the machine. This socket here is for the vacuum pump, So I will just get my knife again. As I fasten these things, I'm going to take labels off. And right, that's vacuum pump, and the cord for the vacuum pump is here. I've already cut the cable ties. Okay, so this is male and female, and they literally just hook together. Get them nice and snug. Right, so that's that connection. So that is the vacuum pump connected. Again, there's a shut off there if you need it. And the handle is connected. And the mains plug is in. And I think that's us. We are done. Right, so we've just advanced on a little bit without filming because we realised, because we've kept the pallet attached to the machine, we couldn't just tip it up to attach the Pug tray cutter and tray assembly. So I've just had to do that off camera, and I'll just explain what I've done. So I'll just take this off so you can see how it operates. I didn't talk about this when I was assembling, but this is actually the seal that keeps, you can keep your clay inside the Pug mill indefinitely, and that keeps it sealed, and it's sealed up here so no air can get in, and it will stay at whatever firmness it's at indefinitely. So this assembly is basically a tray and this cutter attachment here. So there's actually, the instructions that came with it refer to pipe clamp and various other things, and when I looked at the picture I realised that was for the previous version of this, because they've now built this into the body of the machine. Because this is the newer machine, the VPM7, they've actually built these legs into the machine onto the nozzle, so there's a lot less to do. So under here this is attached with a nut and a washer, and there's one on the other side which you would normally use a hex key for, but I just had to finger tighten. And then I had to take it off again because I realised I had to fasten this on first. So this screwed on here with locking nuts at the back inside this assembly here, and then reassembled it all, put the nuts on, and this is actually a really good fit for what I've got my surface coming. So I'm going to have this tray catching my pugs, and then it will go out onto the wood if I need it to, and that is actually exactly the right height that I needed it at. So how this will work is it'll be pugging out, and it did mention on the website that it was marked, but I don't see any markings for measurements, but I will probably be marking for measurements once I know what the weight of each piece is. And when it gets to that particular point, I will just slice down. I can actually slice down and leave it because it will still be pugging through, and then the next one I can slice up, it will carry on pugging, I'll slice down, it will carry on pugging through, I'll slice up until it's stopped. So that's going to give me exactly the size of pieces of clay that I want to ball up to use for throwing or for rolling into slabs. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. Does it work? I've got the mains socket plugged in, and on this end we've got a red capped covered flick switch, which I am now going to flick up, and I'm hoping something's going to happen here. Oh, we have power! That's the emergency stop button, so I'll just pop that. Ah, right, so that's also a shut off. If you push that down, it knocks the switch back down. Good to know. Okay, so we've got this on mix. The vacuum is off. There's no clay in it, so I don't think it'll actually create a vacuum anyway. I've got the speed at full just now just to see what happens. If I press this, of course, nothing happens because this cable here is telling the machine that this is not sealed. This is a great safety feature because this means that you cannot have that running and put your fingers in. And with most pug mills there's usually a mesh to stop you, but you don't need that because it will not turn unless the lid is closed. So that's a great feature. So if I start that now, nothing happens. Still nothing. I don't think I need to seal it, so if I press it now, that is incredibly quiet. I'm really impressed with that. And okay, so if we were actually operating this and mixing now, we would clip the handle closed so that will not lift up. Clay will be in there mixing, and this would be on while we're mixing and while we're de-airing, and then when we're ready to pug, this will come off. And we should be able to put the camera in there so you can actually see the auger turning. You'll see the blades moving round. Don't know, maybe a bit dark.
There you go.
Can you see?
There's something looking at. Yeah, there you go.
How about now?
Yeah,
There you go. Oh, that's a thing of beauty. It's very exciting. Now I'm going to switch the vacuum pump on. I'm going to put the lid on the front here and switch the vacuum pump on, but I don't actually think anything's going to happen right now, so I'm going to close that off. And the switch for the vacuum pump is here. That is amazingly quiet. This is my normal, in fact this is quieter than my normal speaking voice, and I'm pretty sure you can still pick me up pretty well. So this is revolutionary for me, because my experience of vacuum pumps and pug mills is ear protection must be worn. So this is pretty amazing. I think I'm in love with this, and as I thought, because there's no clay in, I'm hoping it's because there's no clay in, we're not getting any reading on the vacuum pump. But something is happening, but you can hear the difference in there. So hopefully once I put clay in, that will start to move, and if it doesn't, I'll have to go check the manual and do some troubleshooting. So that's us for now. Thanks for watching. Our next video will be mixing and pugging for the first time with the VPM7. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, share with your friends, and you can find us on most social media at MoKaPottery.